If you were a cadet who graduated from the Air Force Academy yesterday, things were pretty weird, even before Joe Biden tried to break out into a little trot only to fall face first on the stage in front of everybody. Historically, graduations have been a time to congratulate students on their achievements, real or imagined, and to offer them advice as they embark on their careers. To that end, it's customary for commencement speakers to deliver a message affirming the graduates' potential and their value to society, and so on. You probably had to sit through one of those speeches and all the accompanying cliches, and it can be quite insufferable, but that's the way it goes. Presumably, that was the kind of speech cadets were expecting to hear yesterday before they got on with their lives. But Joe Biden delivered a very different kind of speech. It was so ahistorical, so angry, and so bizarre that it's not crazy to think that Joe Biden nosedived onto the floor on purpose so that no one would ever talk about what he actually said. Standing at the podium in front of thousands of people, cadets, their families, professors, officers, Joe Biden explained that white people make the Air Force weaker. Biden explained that what makes the military strong is not its battle readiness, its skill, its training, but rather its increasing lack of white people and men. That is, of course, what leftists like Biden always mean when they tout diversity, and that's the message that Biden decided to send at his commencement. And then, having delivered that message to all white cadets in attendance, essentially F you was the message, the President of the United States flew headlong into the ground. Watch.
Your class is one of the most diverse classes in the history of this academy or any academy to graduate. That's why we're strong. That's why we're who we are. That's why we'll never give up. That's why.
A few moments later.
It's going down. I'm yelling timber. You better move. You better dance. Let's make a night you won't remember. I'll be the one you won't forget.
That's why we're strong, he says, before collapsing to the ground. Not exactly an expert on strength, I guess. Some of the cadets who had just been forced to listen to Joe Biden's speech seemed like they didn't want anything to do with the whole situation. Here's how one female cadet responded. Watch this. Nope. Just walked slowly away. Now it's kind of amusing, but of course it's also a sad situation. Everyone recognizes this. And on top of that, it's a major problem for the entire country because Joe Biden is the president and he's running for re-election. If he somehow wins the election, Joe Biden will be 82 years old at the start of his next term. And we all know that. It's not breaking news that the President of the United States is unfit to serve. And by now, you're probably familiar with the spin on this incident from every side. You've probably seen all the political takes. CNN made a big deal over that one time Trump tripped, but they're covering for Joe Biden, for example, that sort of thing. And that's all true. But the real question is, why is this happening? I mean, why is anyone still tolerating this? Why would anyone, even Democrats, who presumably want to field an electable candidate in 2024, make excuses for Joe Biden's obvious inability to serve as the President of the United States? For some reason, that's what they're doing. Within an hour or two of Joe Biden's fall, NBC trotted out their fake historian, Michael Beschloss. And this is the guy who warned that your children would be murdered in the streets if Democrats lost the House in midterms last year. That didn't quite materialize, but the corporate media tells you that Beschloss is still someone that you're supposed to take seriously and trust. And yesterday, he wanted you to know that actually it's normal for presidents to fall over. It happens all the time. He cited two examples. Jimmy Carter was participating in a race when he tripped, and Gerald Ford once fell down the stairs of Air Force One. Now, doubters and haters might object and point out that neither of those men fell face first while trying to walk across a flat surface, and neither man had difficulty speaking coherent English during their terms. And by the way, if you're keeping track at home, that's a significant problem for Joe Biden that appears to be getting worse. Here he was just a couple of weeks ago attempting to use words to convey some kind of idea. Listen.
If they have to pay out $159 billion less for prescription drugs, then it reduces the deficit.
At the risk of impugning Michael Beschloss's impeccable credentials as a prudential historian, When someone trips during a foot race, but they're otherwise acting and speaking normally, it's not a big deal. But when somebody routinely has to give up on sentences, just like give up in despair in the middle of a sentence and look at his audience, like in the clip you just saw, that's alarming. And then that same person falls over while walking a couple of feet. You know, when that happens, you're not crazy for wondering if maybe this guy shouldn't be president. And for the record, this is Joe Biden's second fall in a year. You might remember this incident while Biden was cycling in Delaware. Let's watch that again.
Mr. President, may Dr. Biden, how is anniversary?
Oh, I'm good. Yeah. Keep up the good work. I keep on taking these things off. I got my foot caught in it.
Mr. President, made up your mind on China tariffs, Mr. President.
And I'm ready to go. All right, guys. See you.
Now, Michael Besklaus and his colleagues at NBC understand that their job is to distract you from what you can see is clearly true. You know, he just wants to protect the leader of his party, no matter how much humiliation he brings upon his network, his profession, his family name. The former Biden White House communications chief, Kate Bedingfield, also has no shame whatsoever. In response to Biden's fall, she sarcastically said, quote, "I know I personally have never, ever tripped over anything a day in my life, not once." We could go on, but the point is not to humiliate a couple of soulless political operatives. The bigger point, and not that there's anything wrong with humiliating them, the bigger point, and the one that's truly frightening, even if it's never mentioned, is that this is how millions of Americans think. They truly see no problem, apparently, with electing a frail and incompetent candidate like Joe Biden. That's how John Fetterman was elected senator in Pennsylvania. The one reporter who tried to cover the extent of Fetterman's mental decline was dogpiled by the rest of the media. Fetterman's wife said she should be fired. Then, when Fetterman was shamed into debating his opponent, he began by saying, good night, everybody, if you remember. He proceeded to ignore a question asking him to explain his brand new position on fracking, which just happens to be the single most important economic issue in the state. And yet he won. How? Along the same lines, how is Dianne Feinstein still representing California in the Senate? Her aides are running the office. They have been for a while. It's not much of a secret. That's why Feinstein learned from the media that she wasn't running in 2024. She learned from them. Her aides put out a statement without even telling her. Are you tired of waiting ages for your grill to heat up? Now you can say goodbye to those tedious moments of impatiently watching the charcoal burn and say hello to instant barbecue perfection, thanks to our new friends at, and they're very good friends already because they gave me one of these, our friends at Grill Blazer. Grill Blazer's grill guns are designed to do everything from expertly searing your meats to lighting charcoal grills, wood stoves, outdoor fireplaces, and just about anything else you can think of with high-power fire to solve your problem. Grill Blazers offers two types of grill guns. The Grill Gun Basic is a high-power propane torch designed to light charcoal and wood grills and smokers. It burns up to 3,600 degrees. Its 30-inch flame is for anything you need a big bad torch to do. And the sous vide gun has a shorter barrel, which I believe is what I have here. Perfect for professional culinary kitchen uses, from gently caramelizing brulee or other sugar fruits to rapidly searing steaks outside on the grill. Using the grill gun may result in extreme grill envy from your neighbors and increased demands for barbecue parties. They handed this thing to me, and I was just informed that this thing is ready to go. So if I pull this trigger, fire will shoot out. And I was told not to pull the trigger. Let's find out what happens. So we know what happens if you use this in your kitchen. What if I grill that TV over there? What will happen? We could find that out together. I'm finding it very difficult to exercise trigger discipline with this thing. Like the temptation, I really just want to pull the trigger and see what happens.
No.
No, I'm being told no. Then why hand me one that's loaded? This thing is ready, don't put the propane tank on it. Anyway, get your grill gun from Grill Blazers today and let the grilling adventures begin. Visit grillblazer.com/Walsh and use promo code Walsh for 15% off your order. That's grillblazer.com/Walsh, promo code Walsh for 15% off your order. Have you been thinking about going back to school to finish your degree, or are you just starting your college journey, but you have little time to be in person with classes? Grand Canyon University's online programs are designed to make earning your degree easy and accessible, no matter your age or stage in life. Whether you're a busy professional looking to advance your career or a stay-at-home parent juggling family responsibilities, their online courses give you the flexibility you need to learn on your own terms. Grand Canyon University specializes in helping you fit your bachelor's, master's, or doctoral degree into your busy day. From scholarships to customized scheduling, your graduation team, led by your own GCU counselor, provides you with the personal support you need to succeed. So why wait? If you're ready to take your education to the next level, you need Grand Canyon University. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. Visit gcu.edu. That's gcu.edu. Both Feinstein and Fetterman are elected representatives who, through no personal fault of their own, really, are incapable of representing anyone. In Fetterman's case, he's brain damaged. In Feinstein's case, she's 89 years old and senile, and yet they're in office. And there are many more examples like this. How does that make sense? And what does it tell us about the state of the country? For those of us who have kids and who care about the future of the United States in the long term, these are not trivial questions. At some point, someone should think about the answers. So let's take a stab at it. Instead of embarking on some novel theory for once, we'll do what the activists demand that we do. This is Pride Month, and we're told to view everything through that lens. So let's do that for a moment. And in this case, it might actually help bring some clarity, because the fundamental idea behind Pride Month is that people are gods. Basic, unchangeable elements of your humanity are, in fact, not obstacles at all, they tell you. You can change them at will. You can alter your biological sex just by saying so. You can even alter your child's biological sex. Just head to Target and tuck their penis away in an LGBTQ swimsuit. No one can judge you either, because who can judge gods? Gods judge, they aren't judged. So once you join the cult and you accept your status as a god, you can parade naked in front of children if you want. That's not pedophilia, that's pride, we're told. Pride is incompatible with religious societies because religious societies reject the idea that people are gods. That's why all these corporations that change their social media bios to include pride colors never change their bios in Middle Eastern countries. Say what you will about those countries, but they actually take religion seriously. They believe in God. Corporations know that, so they don't bother trying to shove pride down their faces over there. If they did, they'd be destroyed. But in a society that's seriously adopted the principle that underlies pride, and we have, maybe it's not so surprising that millions of Americans have no problem with politicians who claim they can defy another fundamental element of humanity, which is aging. People get old and die. Their brains atrophy. Their bodies start to wither. At a certain point, they need to go. That's always been true. And there was a point when we recognized that. George Washington decided to retire at 64, even though he could have easily sought a third term as this country's first president. He was tired and old, and he knew it. He didn't deny his humanity, he embraced it. Now our leaders sincerely believe biology doesn't limit themselves or anyone at all, whether it's children or the elderly. And that's like the mainstream position. When Jill Biden insists that it's a good idea for her husband to start a second term at the age of 82, when he can't speak or walk without falling over, we're told to just nod along. After all, Joe Biden has assumed godhood, and gods don't have to retire. This is the fundamental motivation behind electing senile, brain-damaged people to lead us. Yes, partly this is a reflection of a country that has simply given up on itself. It's a manifestation of our societal apathy. But it's also a denial of mortality. It's a denial of another of the basic truths of human life. And you hear this from people. You hear this even from people who are not fans of Joe Biden. You hear from people on the right. So, there's a lot of reasons not to elect Biden, but his age has nothing to do with it. Yeah, there are a lot of reasons not to elect him, but his age is definitely one of them. But we don't need to get to his age because he's also just incompetent and corrupt, and all of that. But even if that wasn't all true, I'd still say we can't elect this guy because the age does matter. And just because you have a grandmother who's still spry and with it at the age of 87, I got a grandmother, she's a real firecracker at 92. Mortality still applies to her, just like it does to all of us. So you can watch that clip of Joe Biden falling at the Air Force Academy, and you could say, but Trump, and you can watch it and say, but Jimmy Carter, but Gerald Ford, etc. You can laugh at it, you can feel sorry for Joe Biden. But the one thing you're definitely not supposed to do is notice the reason that that clip exists at all. Joe Biden is in office because of a lie that is so pervasive and intoxicating that everyone now seems to believe it, from university professors to presidents to children. And the problem with lies is that they tend to mask very real problems. The more we delude ourselves into thinking that the impossible is reality, that people are gods, the more we're inviting consequences we can't even comprehend. And there will be many consequences if this senile, decaying old man is allowed to serve as the president of the United States for 4 more years. Which is why I won't say that Joe Biden is canceled, because that would be redundant at this point, but rather the people who would actually vote for him, for this, for that, are today canceled. If you'd like to see what else I have to say, you can access my full show by going to dailywire.com or by going to the Matt Walsh Show Twitter page. Hope to see you there. Godspeed.